Bridges of all kinds seem to be the perfect setting for ghostly tales, literal and figurative portals to the other side, allowing those who choose to pass a chance to cross over. The energy that many theorize ghosts and spirits use to manifest is surely present at bridges, with the rushing water and traffic passing under and over daily. Located in Monroe County, Missouri, the Union Covered Bridge was constructed from 1870 through 1871 by builder Joseph C. Elliott. Utilizing a double burr arch truss design, the 120-foot span crosses over the Elk Fork of the Salt River. Just outside of Paris, Missouri, the bridge was named after the nearby Union Church. The bridge is a state historical site and is closed to all vehicular traffic. Walking across the bridge is dreamlike as you see the moving river water through the cracks in the floorboards, giving the illusion that the bridge itself is in motion. There's a crossing below, directly south of the bridge, a bit of the gravel road that runs through the river and becomes impassable during high water. One of the main sources of traffic for the crossing is the nearby quarry. The primary ghost story surrounding the Union-covered bridge is that of a young child. In most versions, the spirit of a little boy that drowned in the waters beneath the bridge. Some stories say that the boy fell from the bridge to his doom in the river. When the waters are low, the depth of the river under the bridge is only a few feet. A fall from this height could easily debilitate a youngster and possibly even cause them to drown in the shallows underneath. When the waters are high, the river will rage through the valley, nearly taking out the bridge several times throughout its history. It's easy to see how quickly one could be swept away if they fell in. The ghost of the boy is said to haunt the bridge and the surrounding area, appearing to some, and even patting or tapping visitors on the shoulder to get their attention. Much like a little boy, curious and playful, but otherwise benign. Another spooky tale that involves the covered bridge comes from a Bigfoot report on the Gulf Coast Bigfoot Research Organization's website. The report details a scary summer 1969 encounter on the wooded back roads near Paris. A young couple was driving along when out of the ditch popped a fur-covered creature as tall as the front end of the car, running on two legs. The creature ran out into the road, nearly getting hit by the car, before returning to the woods from whence it came. After this encounter, the girl involved began having nightmares about a family of the creatures living in the woods around the Union-covered bridge. Though legends of different wild men date back to pioneer days in Missouri, undoubtedly, the most famous is the Missouri Monster, or Momo as he's known for short. A shaggy-haired cousin of Bigfoot, Momo terrorized the town of Louisiana, Missouri, beginning in the early 1970s. And, wouldn't you know it, the Elk Fork that runs under the covered bridge is a tributary of the same Salt River that runs into the Mark Twain Lake, and then eventually into the Mississippi River at Louisiana. Author and legendary cryptozoologist Lyle Blackburn even detailed the Paris creature sighting in his book, Momo, The Strange Case of the Missouri Monster. Is it possible that Momo and creatures of his ilk are or were using the Salt River as a travel route? Accounts of the ghost at the Union-covered bridge can be found in the book Haunted Bridges by Rich Newman and in other reports from around the internet. As we journey to these bridges and wade through the legends, it's natural for us to speculate on more mundane explanations or inspirations behind these spooky tales. While we didn't find any accounts in newspapers or death records to suggest that a boy really did drown beneath the Union-covered bridge, we did find many real reports of drownings in the Salt River. Many children have drowned in the Salt River over the years. A report from the town of Shelbyville in the July 16, 1879 edition of the Shelbina Democrat details the account of 14-year-old George Dunn, who drowned on a Sunday school outing to the river. According to the report, George swam into the deep waters of the river and went under, never to resurface alive. Another account of children drowning in the Salt River comes from Rawls County in 1859. According to a report in the Randolph Citizen newspaper, Miss Rebecca Hayden and her 4 children drowned while trying to cross the Salt River in a buggy near Hannibal. Evidently, the buggy tipped during the attempted crossing, and the family perished in the waters of the river. Perhaps the most infamous drowning in the Salt River was the 1904 mysterious death of Miss Amanda Watson, wife of Dr. Jones Watson. As the story goes, they found the good doctor laid out on or near a bridge crossing over the Salt River. His wife was found sometime later drowned in the river. The incident had occurred on a high bridge near New London, Missouri. When the dust settled, it was largely believed that the doctor had thrown his wife into the river and faked his own injuries to make it seem like a wreck on the bridge had thrown her from the buggy. In the July 25, 1913 edition of the Monroe County Democrat, there's an article discussing crime in the area before the Civil War. One of the heinous acts described was that of old Joe Mosley, who killed his own daughter and threw her into the Salt River. The drownings in the Salt River aren't limited to the distant past. Drownings in the river have occurred as recently as 2014, when a mushroom hunter was found drowned, or the 2018 drowning of a young man while swimming in part of the Salt River. While this next one isn't a drowning, we felt it worth mentioning both for its proximity to the covered bridge and for the fact that both the victim and the perpetrator met their ends on or over the Salt River. On April 3rd, 1902, 50-something Abe Withrop took a hatchet and hacked up young William Grow on a farm near Paris, Missouri. When they found William Grow's body in the Salt River, his skull was split nearly in half, and one of his eyeballs was popped out. And when the authorities went to tell the Grow family they'd found what they suspected was the body of their missing boy, Abe Withrop was there visiting and commiserating with the Grow family. Withrop confessed, claiming self-defense, and he was jailed in Paris, Missouri as the tale of his evil deeds spread. After his arrest, it came to light that Withrop had been suspected of another murder in Kansas. Evidence insufficient to try him, the drifter ended up in Monroe County. In an interesting correlation to other bridges we investigated, this story also involves a lynching. When the town heard that Withrop may be a serial killer, an enraged mob stormed the parish jail, apprehending Abe Withrop and taking him out to a wagon bridge that spanned the Salt River. Mr. Withrop was roped and tied, then told to jump from the bridge. When he refused, the mob pushed him over the edge, and the old man hanged for his perceived crimes. While the story indicates Withrop was hanged from a bridge closer to town, the Union Covered Bridge was a popular wagon bridge in the area that crossed over the Salt River. While the Covered Bridge is one of the few remaining Burr Arch Truss bridges in the country, there were in fact 5 covered wagon bridges around Monroe County near the turn of the 20th century. This report seems like prime source material for a ghost story. An axe murder, bodies in the river, a lynching, and a bridge hanging all seem like prime material for a spooky legend. It's interesting that the main ghost that permeates here seems to have no basis in fact, aside from the actual tragedies of children and others drowning in the Salt River. As far as an explanation for the creature sighted around the woods near Paris, the first thing that springs to mind is the idea of people keeping monkeys as pets. Our initial interpretation when we read the report was that it was some kind of small ape or chimp. Keeping monkeys or chimps, while rare and unusual, was not unheard of at the time in 1969. Possibly someone's escaped pet chimp, or something that escaped a zoo, traveling circus, or an animal sanctuary nearby. Another possible scenario was that the couple saw a black bear walking on its hind legs. Although the witness did indicate that they were from the area and therefore familiar with the local fauna, it's possible that her eyes deceived her. Perhaps she caught a glimpse of the bear's backside as it was walking away from her. It should also be noted that the bear population and sightings were on the rise in Missouri all throughout the 1960s. We've visited the Union Covered Bridge at least once a year since we can best remember. It's a popular tourist attraction in the area, and the fishing in the Elk Fork is great. As a kid, I can remember night fishing the river with my father and uncle. They would share stories of monsters like Twofold and Meshuggah as we took the John boat back and forth to the fishing hole from this very bridge. Nighttime at the covered bridge is surreal. We were fortunate to have had excellent moonlight on both night adventures, and it made for some eerily beautiful pictures. For our expeditions to each haunted bridge, we brought along an assortment of ghost hunting tools. These are used in an attempt to make contact with whatever energies are suspected to exist at these ghostly places. During many trips, we would sit down and ask a series of focused questions to try and communicate or receive intelligent responses via the manipulation of these electrical devices. We called these attempted spiritual interactions contact sessions. For these focused contact sessions, we used an SB7 spirit box device that scans radio stations in an attempt to give a voice or word bank to potential contacts. We also used a word randomizer application with a 200,000 word dictionary that produces a word every designated amount of time. This app was developed by our team member Oren Kirchhoff and works as an emulator of the popular ghost hunting tool, the Ovulus. To give the contacts or energies something physical to interact with, we brought along a REM pod, movement detecting cat toys, and EMF readers. In addition, we would record these sessions in a variety of ways with voice recorders and video cameras. The specific method we used for both Covered Bridge contact sessions was to have the SB7 recorded directly into one audio recorder, and then ask the questions out loud and record that into a separate device. This allowed us to reduce the in-the-moment bias while also giving us a chance to combine and isolate both recordings for later review. We are fully aware that the idea of these devices being able to communicate with spirits or the dead is completely speculative and theoretical. That being said, we wanted to give the suggested process a chance. After all, many paranormal advocates say that the key to having a ghostly encounter or experience is to believe. We had what appeared to be many potential readings on this investigation.
Is there any bad energy here? And if so, is that what's keeping you here? Or is this good energy that's got you here? If you're here with us tonight, can you make this EMF go off one more time? That's interesting. We want to thank you for that. If you're here, turn the EMF off. Is the energy here good? If so, can you turn on the EMF? So this is a positive place for you. All right.
The EMF and REM pod were both going off, seemingly in response to our questions. With some research and a review of our footage from this investigation, we learned that cell phones, radio and Wi-Fi signals, and other electronic devices we were using that night can all set off the REM pod or the EMF readers. From this point on, more stringent testing parameters were put in place, such as putting all cellular phones in airplane mode, using EMF meters to scan an area for signals before an investigation, and then keeping them put up otherwise, isolating the REM pod 20 plus feet away from all other devices, and being mindful of radio signals that could cause false readings. After employing more stringent testing parameters due to perceived false positives from our first trip, we had zero anomalous activity from the EMF reader and REM pod on subsequent trips. Hauntings and ghost encounters seem to be a personal experience, unique to the experiencer. So, why leave it to us to force our interpretations of the evidence? We've provided links in the description to our investigation reports, transcripts, and audio files of each contact session. For those interested, you can review the questions we asked, the words that our word generator application produced, and scan for any potential audio anomalies in the review. This is our attempt to make the investigation data interactive, open-sourced, and available for independent review. Please give us feedback if you interact with the data. Let us know what we can do to make the experience better, or how we can more effectively present the research. The Union Covered Bridge is a state historical site that many use as a backdrop for pictures and lifelong memories, stories that the bridge no doubt makes richer. So why not move tragedies up or down the river to this eerily beautiful setting? Perhaps the very real stories of drowned children made their way to Monroe County to settle under the old covered bridge, where they still brood to this day.